All right, boys and girls, let's talk about, well, penises and vaginas. The Vesica Pisces, I guess more or less that represents the womb, but you see the penis or obelisk sticking out of it, which represents Osiris. And the reason why we're going to talk about it is because we've seen a lot of, well, Vesica Pisces football symbolism. You have the Vesica Pisces, that whole football. And of course, we're going to get onto this next part where you're going to see where the penis comes in, Osiris comes in, and part of the story of him falling apart, his penis falling apart, and the whole thing where it gets rebuilt with gold. Okay? So here's an interesting story. Whether it is a false flag, whether it was arranged or not, there hasn't been enough on. But there's a lot of suspicion here. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to walk you through here. I want you to examine this house. Okay? Take a good look at this house. This is a Google Earth view of the house here. I want you to pay particular attention to the street in the front and the street in the back and the chimney, the white chimney that is, I guess, in correspondence with the pool there, back up on the first level of the roof in the back. And you pay attention to that. So you can see the house. There's access to this roof of the house from the front and from the back. Okay? There's two ways that access can be gotten to this house. And pay particular attention to that white chimney. Okay? Because there's going to be more about that in about a second here. You can see it. You can see it. All right. Well, we're going to back up first. Let's go to the other part of the story. So anyways, this crane falls, okay? This crane falls and splits the house. Is it symbolizing the house divided? The thing about it is the crane was much larger than what was needed for the job that they were doing, okay? Why they used the crane is ridiculously big. And the other part of it is, why did it fall over with such a small load when these type of cranes are designed to handle extraordinary larger loads than what would have been needed for this particular job? Okay, so we're going to go back here, okay, and you see what they did is they took the trim off of the chimney. It looks like they were going to remove the chimney. In Florida, those chimneys are made out of sheet metal, basically, because they don't need to be brick, because of the fact that Florida, they don't usually have wood stoves, and, you know, they tend to build shit cheap in Florida. Now, why they were removing it from the house, I don't know. It really wasn't necessary, okay? And the other part of it is, too, is that type of a load on a crane like that should not have affected it whatsoever. Now, they do use what's called hurricane straps on the houses in Florida. Those are newer building codes, and so we'd have to find out when this house was actually built to know if they were using hurricane straps. But the interesting fact is, well, I mean, in theory, it should have been removed, those hurricane straps, if that chimney was strapped into the rest of the house like that by the roofers. Either way, that crane should have been able to rip it right through there without a problem. Why it went from the front instead of the back doesn't even make sense, and why they use that large of a crane doesn't make sense either. That type of chimney could have been removed with the roofers. Since they did take the trim off, they could have just took that chimney right down themselves. They didn't need a crane for that job. So there's a lot of suspicion in here, you know, as far as what's going on. And nowadays, a lot of roofing companies do use cranes so that they can get the shingles up a lot quicker and easier, okay? But let's back up here. What's interesting here, of course, we look at the house. This is the guy, the roofing company. The roofing company is called Golden Key, okay? So the interesting thing, you have the penis falling apart, and then it's being rebuilt by the golden, you know, of gold. There's some symbology here. There's a lot of, you know, they got the football here, you know, where it's interesting. And, you know, it's the house divided, and then they got the condemned sign next to it. The Seminole Indians. It's, you know, it's an interesting story. I'm not saying it's definitely a false flag. You know, date was 9/4. Crane is 9/4. There's a lot of 41 gematria. I'm not going to go through the gematria because that's not really my job. I'll leave that for the gematriist. That's what my new word for them are called. The people that do them gematria, I'm calling them gematriist. So anyways, you know, going back to this, you know, we see a house divided, and it really is, the way they put it there is basically almost down the middle of the house. So it's kind of interesting that the whole crane flipping over doesn't even make sense much. And the name of the company, the crane company, is literally just a derivative of the word Baal. You know, the Baal worshippers, you know, the Phalus worshippers. So it's very interesting, very interesting. So it can't be for sure. So, you know, there's not enough there to say whether it was bullshit or not. There is some security camera footage of it falling over. Interesting fact is, when it falls over, you don't see any people around it, and the image itself, the video of it, looks a little bit, you know, like it was played with. So we don't know. But these are the type of things that these people do. And the fact that you see the golden key and, you know, with the penis and it being rebuilt, you know, the whole thing with the Vesica Pisces and Osiris. I mean, and this is in Orlando, Florida. The story fits in as if it was a false flag. You know, I think Matilda pointed out, she seemed fascinated by it because of the whole house divided thing. And I think that was the same day that they came out with the story with the somehow email from one person, and you know, it's the house divided thing going on in the Senate there, or the House. So it's interesting. Whether it's a false flag or not, I don't know. But when we're talking about these people that do this shit, they're constantly doing shit like this. They're constantly doing shit like this. And, you know, I want to go back to old times. I'm going to show you a video here. And people have been getting confused on who are these people behind? Who? They blame this group, that group, and every other group. And sometimes you have to listen to the old school stuff to really kind of get it. Okay? Because I've been seeing a lot of things out there, you know, especially when it comes to like the Nazi stuff. And everybody's like, oh yeah, Hitler was a great guy, this and that. But you got to understand, the people that are doing what is going on today are basically the same as the people as the Nazis. You know, everybody thinks that, you know, Hitler threw out the Masons in this group and that group and this group. But wait a second, when you really examine it, wait a second. He was very much into the occult stuff and everything else. So you got to remember that when you start taking on a new belief system and going, okay, Hitler is a great guy, you're also understanding that he was a part of all this occult shit that went on and involved with the Jesuits and everything else. So you're also saying that the people that are doing all this stuff today are okay. And that's, you know, a problem. So you have to really examine it. And I'm not saying he was the worst person in the world. We don't, you know, they've lied to us so much about history. We really don't know the full solid truth. But you have to be careful. Because when it comes down to it, where the Nazi money went, and then that money ends up going, you know, through Deutsche Bank, through the different French bankers and all this Swiss banking, and ends up being used for 9/11, you need to start using your head and understanding that these are the same people. So you can't all of a sudden think the Nazi Party is good when they're actually involved in the shit that's going on today. Okay? You get that? Does that make sense to you? So, you know, you got to be really careful when you take on new belief systems. All right? I'm going to play this video for it. Well, I want you to see this. I mean, come on. That's a sheet metal freaking thing there. Should not have toppled the crane. So the story in itself is very highly suspicious. You know? Highly suspicious. But let me play this quick video. I want you to hear what he says. You know, because this shit has been going on a long time. You know, and you can see how the Rosicrucians and, you know, Hitler were buddy-buddy. I mean, how these groups were together at one time. And now you can't, you know, take on one part of that without understanding that the other part of it is still part of them. And that's why you really need to be careful on your new belief systems. And I totally agree. They lied about the numbers of people that were killed. They lied about who was mainly killed in World War II. There's a lot of lying going on. There's a lot of bullshit. But we also have to understand that doesn't make people perfect just because the numbers they lied about, you know, were over-exaggerated. You know, all the sides that were involved in the bullshit are bullshit. And that's what people need to understand. It's still theater. It's still shit that they're playing out before our eyes. You know, it's tough to grasp, but people need to start grasping it. Don't take on new belief systems until you truly understand what the hell's going on.
Come on, you tiny little wreck, have a drink. We're drinking to women.
Take the drink, but won't join you in the toast. Glass of Irish. Women. Hitler had the right idea. Keep them in their place. Kleine Kinderkirchen. Babies in the kitchen. Say what you want to about Hitler, he had his points.
Come. Look,
This generation's had its chance. Hitler, Mussolini, those are the men. Now is the age of the barbarians. The world's going up in smoke. I say let it come, get it over with.
Well, if you don't mind, I'd like another year or so of worry.
Worry? Just 1 minute, laddies. I've just 2 or 3 words to say to you, laddies, and that's don't worry. Don't ever worry. I'm in a position to know secret information. The Rosicrucians, the Great White Brotherhood, the high secret orders. But you've no faith. You must have faith. Faith and power, secret power. Men who guard the trust from the deepest inside of the whatchamacallit. Mystic rulers, all one club, chained together by one purpose, one idea. Mankind's champions. Follow me, Billy?
Oh, why, of course.
This generation's had its chance. Hitler, Mussolini.
I can't stand here and permit you.
Are you interrupting me?
Relax, Jack. Have another drink.
I simply want to state that things don't happen to be what certain people imagine.
You know, that's the thing. Things don't always seem what people perceive or imagine. They are sometimes simpler than what is being put into their head. We can't forget that when it comes down to it, the Nazis were kind of racist, okay? Whether it was against black people or Jewish people or whatever. Yeah, they were fucked up. The White Brotherhood, the Rosicrucians, these are all white supremacist organizations. They work with the Nazis, and, you know, when's the last time you've seen a black pope? You know, they call the Pope now the Black Pope, but, you know, he's white. But what I'm saying here is, you know, we got to be careful with all this new stuff that's coming out. Because if you think about it, if these groups that are tied to, like, the Nazis and everything else, what are they going to start making people believe? Oh, that they weren't that bad of people, right? They're going to skew the perception of people. You got to remember that, you know, there were people in Nazi Germany that were in prison camps and still not believing that what was going on was going on. It took them to wake up to be put into a camp. So don't wait till you're in a camp to wake the fuck up. You know what I mean?